This is my message to all members of the United States Congress, 545 members of the House of Representatives, 100 senators, the White House, the President, the Vice President. I'll be tweeting this video message to all of them, as well as many other elected officials across this country that I can get hold of in a short time. I will also be reaching out to Indian organizations across this country, large organizations that have organized the largest political rallies in the history of this country, organizations whose members vote in elections across this country. I'll be reaching out to all of them, asking them to join this lobbying effort and make millions of phone calls, send millions of emails and text messages in this lobbying effort to the United States Congress. I'll also be blogging about this at my blog, Barack Face. Barack as in the former president, Face as in Scarface. Barack Face like in Scarface. I was Barack Obama's first full-time volunteer in all of New York City since early 2007. Once this pandemic hit this country more than a year ago, under the Trump administration, the US Congress proceeded to borrow and spend $2 trillion, T like in taxes, 12 zeros. That was money well spent. That was necessary. After this country got a new president, another $2 trillion. And then another $4 trillion. I think the new package might be $6 trillion. So we are looking at $8 to $10 trillion that this pandemic has forced this country to spend, borrow and spend. Nothing like this has happened since World War II. And I'm on record at my blog from more than a year ago comparing this pandemic to World War II. My message is this: the only way the US can borrow and spend $10 trillion is because the dollar is the de facto global currency. That's the only reason. The Indian government could not do something like this. The government in Brazil could not do something like this. The government in Nigeria could not do something like this. And so the US has to appreciate, if the dollar is the de facto global currency, is because countries across the world do business in the US dollar. What I am asking is, the US Congress that has spent almost $10 trillion to fight this pandemic should be willing to spend $50 billion, be like in boy, $50 billion to take this vaccine to every human being on earth so as to bring this pandemic to the quickest possible end. That figure of $50 billion was calculated by the International Monetary Fund. The global economy is in paralysis. People are suffering all across the world. If you print and spend $10 trillion and the global economy is dysfunctional, it's not doing what it should do, then that can only cause major inflation in the United States. You don't want that. You want a humming, vibrant global economy to absorb the $10 trillion you just printed and put into circulation. So it's in your best interest to bring this global pandemic to an end. The US spending $50 billion to take the vaccine to every human being on earth will bring this pandemic to an end. Otherwise, the alternative is trillions of dollars lost because the global economy faced paralysis. Things were mucked up. There is, of course, the humanitarian concern. There is, of course, the urge to do the right thing. And the right thing to do is for the US Congress that spent $10 trillion, or is in the process of spending $10 trillion to fight this pandemic inside the country, should take $50 billion out of that pot and take the vaccine to every human being on earth to bring this pandemic to an end. And if you do not bring the global pandemic to an end, when there are massive infections like in India right now and across South Asia and in other Asian countries, in Brazil, then the virus keeps mutating and the newer variants have been shown to be more infectious and more deadly, which means a few cycles later that virus could mutate and become so strong that the vaccine that has been given to people across the United States might become ineffective. And then you will start all over again. You might have to spend another $10 trillion to try to get the economy back on track. There's no saying how long that next vaccine will take to develop. So it's in the best interest. The only way to fight this pandemic anywhere is to end it everywhere. We have to face that fact. That is a scientific fact. I've been saying for a year that this pandemic